Hey, what's up, everybody? DFS Rico coming at you with my picks and insight for this MLB 10 game slate. It looks like on Draftkings for Tuesday, August 4th. Let me make sure it's 10 games. 10 games. Pretty good slate. We got some good pitching, we got some good bats. I'm just going to run through two of my favorite pitchers and two of my favorite stacks that I'm looking at, and then we'll go from there. Um, Before I get into it though, if you can like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to go over to the Patreon to sign up, $10 a month, I am providing pivots and leverage plays. I do another video, probably twice as long as this one over there, or a good length, and I just usually talk about GPP plays, spots that I like where you can be different and take advantage of ownership and stuff like that. And then in the Discord, I will post ownership when I do have it. Just stuff like that. This is going to be more so for like cash plays and smaller GPPs. And on the Patreon, I will mention more plays, I guess you could say. Right here, I'm just going to be focused on a couple picks that I think you could start off your lineups with, and just if you're only playing a couple lineups, good idea to play some of these guys. But let's get to it. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget, guys. I appreciate all the support. So for pitchers, we got Patrick Corbin up top at 10.4 versus the Mets in a decent spot. He looked very good last time out versus the Yankees. Easier matchup in my opinion, but 10.4. I like a lot of the mid-range guys. I mean, you got Lance Lynn up here at 9.9. It's been looking like a true ace. 0.0 ERA. He hasn't allowed a run in his two starts, which is really good. Going down, LeMay versus the Dodgers. I don't know if I want any of that. Giolito, Max Fried, Woodruff, Marquez. You got some good pitchers today. I mean, Marquez is 8,100 at home. I don't know how I feel about that. Might be a good spot to take some San Francisco guys. But scrolling down, I mean, the first guy I really want to talk about is Andrew Heaney. I think he's going to be one of the highest owned pitchers. He is going against Seattle, and everybody's going to be picking on Seattle. I think in smaller contests, he's going to be a must play. Not a must play, but he's going to be pretty high owned, and you don't want to miss out on him if most of the field is playing him. In cash games, I assume at 8K, he's in a favorable matchup. I mean, you look at some of these other guys that are pitching, they're in some tougher spots and they're priced a little higher. And Heaney does have some good upside. So I'm going to plug him in at 8K, going over to his plate IQ. Where is he at? Right here, his plate IQ. Let's see. Andrew Heaney versus Seattle. I'm looking at a couple pictures. But Andrew Heaney versus Seattle. He's in a good spot. He's a lefty. The only thing with these guys, they have a decent amount of righties. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're not that good. Even their lefties aren't good against lefties. With J.P. Crawford up top is not looking too good. He's in a very good spot. I think he's really going to be one of the highest owned guys. 29.3% strikeout rate going back to last season. Really good walk rate. His fly balls, his hard hit rate's not too good. His ground balls, but I think his K upside. He did just pitch this matchup earlier in the season. This is his second time pitching against them. Put up 15.7 fantasy points. Not the best outing from him. He did allow 5 hits, 2 earned runs. I think he could go out there and probably pitch a better game today, in my opinion. He's in a good spot. It's really mainly the strikeout rate and the fact that he's playing against a bad team is the reason I think he will have higher ownership. A lot of his numbers aren't the best. It's mainly a strikeout play, upside play, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people will be on him because of that. Next guy I want to talk about, scrolling down, I mean, you got some good pitchers today, honestly, in my opinion, in good spots. I want to talk about Kyle Hendricks versus Kansas City. I was all over Mills yesterday, played a lot of him, and he pitched pretty solid. I was really happy with his performance against Kansas City. He was a righty going against him, and Kyle Hendricks is another righty going against him. He didn't allow 1 run. I think Kyle Hendricks has some good stuff, as we saw in his first start. He looked really good. 9 Ks, pitched a complete game, 45 fantasy. I don't think he'll do that again, but then he struggled versus Cincinnati. 7 hits allowed, 6 earned runs. They have a decent amount of lefties. Going into the matchup against Kansas City, he doesn't have much strikeout stuff. I mean, he showed it in that one game, but his WOBA and his ISO against both sides, super solid. He's a good pitcher. He stays in the game. His ground balls, his fly balls, his soft hit rate. He does struggle a little more with that stuff versus against lefties. If you're just looking at it, His strikeout rate's a little better versus lefties, so even if he gets a couple of them, he's going to be in a good spot. You got some guys on this team that strike out a good amount. I mean, over 25%. You got Soler, O'Hearn. You got Mondesi striking out at 32%. 28 for Phillips. Mondesi's just not the same as he was last year. He's struggling a pretty good amount, in my opinion, this year. He's decent, but he's not getting on base, which is where he really benefits. And then not having him behind Merrifield is really making their offense not too good. He's a righty. He's good versus righties. Very good versus. He's much better versus righties versus lefty, in my opinion. Just like yesterday, I even said the same thing over on my Patreon. I talked about it. Kansas City, their best hitters are righties: Merrifield, Soler, Perez, Franco. Those are their 4 best hitters, in my opinion. And even Mondesi being a switch hitter, and they're all righties, and that's what Hendricks is really good against. Same thing I was praising with Mills. I think Hendricks is he's better than Mills, so maybe he can go out there and shut him out as well, or probably get a couple more Ks in my opinion. That's what I'm hoping for. But at 7.7K, I'm really interested in this stack just because it does let me pay up for bats, and I think there's more bats that I'm interested in than having to pay up for guys like Lance Lynn or Patrick Corbin, in my opinion. But let's get to the bats next. We're going to go over to Colorado. Everybody's going to be on Colorado, but I think they're in a fantastic spot going against Gossman. 25.4% strikeout rate. He has a good walk rate for him, but he does struggle a lot versus lefties. He's not too good versus righties. If you're allowing 40% hard hit rate at Coors Field, it's going to be a tough night. The weather's looking good. I'm actually from Denver too, so weather's looking nice. It's going to be nice and warm. Coors Field has been looking very good early on in the season. These Rockies guys have been looking good, and San Diego was looking good here last time. Just the lefties. You're going to want to play the devil lefties. Dahl, Blackman, Murphy, McMahon, Hillard, Walters. You got some good bats. Some cheap guys like Kemp as well. Going over to the starting lineups, I mean, they're probably going to put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 lefties. You got guys that are cheap in the bottom. Walters, Hilliard. Even Matt Kemp, if you want to pay 3.6 for him, is not a bad play. I know he's not a lefty, but it's solid. These guys are pricey, but playing these pitchers, I feel pretty comfortable paying up for some of these guys. Obviously, the main guy, David Dahl's solid at 5.1, but I think you're going to want to start with Blackman. I think just him, lefties versus righties, very good. Where's he at? Very good versus righties. Look at his ISO, look at his WOBA, his hard hit rate's decent. He's not much of a power guy in my opinion, but very good. If you're looking for more contact, you're looking for Daniel Murphy's super solid. The top of this lineup is expensive. We know that, so you're going to want to try to find ways to play some of the back end guys. Or even with your fillers. I like to play 5-man stacks personally and fill my lineup in with the best players possible. So I would be playing Blackman in, and then I would probably pairing him up with Dahl for sure. So that puts us at 3.9K remaining. We will have to find some cheap hitters, and a cheap hitter that I really like from the second stack that I'm really looking at is from Chicago. Chicago's a little pricier, but they do have a cheap bat that I like, 3.9K actually. Ian Happ at the back of the lineup. He's been playing pretty solid this season. Has hit 3 home runs. He's going against Singer, which is a righty, and Happ is a switch hitter. He plays really good. 146 plate appearance, .351 ISO, .402 WOBA. Sometimes he's batting 9th, but sometimes he's batting 6th or 7th. And if he's batting up there, I really like him even more. If he's batting at the end of the rotation, you can kind of do a wraparound with him. Maybe even play like Horner just to be cheap. Or playing him as a one-off, I don't mind it. I actually think he hit a home run. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully he doesn't go for 4. 31% strikeout rate for this guy, a Singer versus righties. So you do want to play the lefties against him. His fly balls, his hard hit rates, it's not good. I think the wind's going to be blowing in, but I still like the matchup. The lefties, you see Rizzo mashes .249 ISO, .412 WOBA, 39.2% hard hit rate. Baez hasn't been as good. He's been kind of average, honestly. He has had like some games, but not too special. But I do like the Chicago stack as well, and a pretty good matchup, especially starting it out with the lefties, filling it in with some righties if you want to be a little different than the Rockies. But I still do think I prefer the Rockies in this matchup versus Gossman. Just not the best pitcher, But obviously, a lot of people will be on them in cash plays and smaller GPPs. But I think that is going to be a good way to go for tonight. And do like Hap, Blackman, Doll, and just finding some cheaper guys. If you decide to 5-man stack Colorado, find some cheap bats to fill it in. It's possible, trust me. And then same thing, vice versa. If you play the Chicago guys, find some cheaper guys to fill it in with other teams. Just cheap bats. Just 5-man stack is the way I like to go. Let me know what you guys like to do in the comments. I really like to know people's approach to these slates. But I think that's all I really want to talk about. I like Heaney, Hendricks, and then I like these teams, the Rockies and the Cubs for some cash games. Um, there's some pretty good bats, but I will, like I said, get over them on my Patreon. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate it, guys. Thank you.